Okay, welcome. This is the Hot Seat with Donovan Sadiq and Sean 14. We are going to talk about some of the local issues going on in the city of Moreno Valley. We thank you guys for listening. We have entered silly season, and we got a couple of issues that we want to talk about today, and we're going to take it away with, starting off with Sean. We're going to ask a few questions just to get real up to date on local politics. So here we go, man. So we have a subpoena coming up in the Victoria Baca thing.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I think right now, everyone's opinion doesn't really matter. It's going to come down to what the judge thinks on Friday.
Right, and absolutely. That's the number one case. We have the issue of last week we had a settlement in the WLC case between the county and this other transportation thing. What's your take on that?
Highland Fairview is basically got a freedom that one. The Moreno Valley Politics Matter website or Facebook page is claiming that it was a shakedown, but
shakedown.
Yeah, they're saying that they insisted that the county's lawyers said they should settle or risk not getting anything, and so in the minds of the Moreno Valley Politics Matter people, that was just extortion. But I did some numbers on the costs of some of these projects to make, because right now the city is, or not the city, the Caltrans and the county are working to widen and upgrade some freeways to handle existing traffic. But some of those projects would have to be done again to handle the volume
of trucks that are
here, because also for example, there is a stretch of the 91 between the 15 and the 71 that is being widened. That is at a cost of $1.4 billion.
Okay.
And that's for a 6-mile stretch, and we'd need about a 9-mile stretch here on the 60 to do equivalent work to make it wide enough to handle the trucks.
Okay.
So that would be more like $2.1 billion instead.
Wow.
And then, to widen the Badlands for existing truck traffic through the 60 going to the 10. That's going to be a $138.4 million project, and handle the load that the Highland Fairview, that project would have to be done another time.
Golly.
On the 60 to the 215, right on the very west end of Moreno Valley, there's a project to upgrade that. That's going to be another $48 million. And that, once again, we're going to need more upgrades to handle that traffic.
All right.
Then during the hearings a year ago, the Riverside County Transportation Commission said that to handle the traffic, they would have Highland Fairview would need to upgrade the 60 to 215 interchange, and that project cost $2 billion. So now we're looking at Highland Fairview is paying a total of about $34.6 million towards these upgrades and study sessions and stuff. But in reality, it's going to be more like $4.2 billion worth of projects. And so, I forgot another $700 million for that stuff. So it's going to be, Highland Fairview is going to pay less than well under 1% of the cost of all these projects.
So who's going to pay the majority?
We are, and the thing is that this, how this county and the state is going to finance all this stuff is going to be a whole nother
issue,
and a whole nother show, because quite frankly the finances aren't there. I mean,
right.
Highland Fairview expects all these externalities, to take all the costs that don't necessarily benefit him directly, but in this case, the money for those externalities just plain doesn't exist.
So we're looking at $370 billion over a 20-year period. About
3.7 or 3.58 to 4.2 billion dollars over that 20-year period, and the money's just not there for it.
Good Lord. The Gilman Springs Road, the cost of that alone, just to expand that, would be what, between $2 and $6 million?
Right now, they're estimating $3 million, but I'll believe that when I see it.
Right.
And right now, they're talking about adding some. They're widening it a little and adding some passing lanes. Do any of these people actually drive on Gilman Springs Road and never try and pass on it?
Right. I doubt that.
That's like fatalities waiting to happen.
Right. If we are if there's no money there and we're expected to pay this, how in the hell is this project gonna work?
That's a good question. Some people have like this blind faith that somehow this is going to make jobs and somehow it's all going to work out, but the numbers of trucks and the numbers for upgrading the projects and just even numbers just trying to keep the roads in good enough condition are not adding up. And quite frankly, when this project was first presented, Gilman Springs Road, they were assuring us that Gilman Springs Road was not going to be used for truck traffic.
Right now.
And now it's a part of the county plan to use some of the Highland Fairview money to upgrade Gilman Springs Road for traffic, which now that just makes what we were told originally about it. Highland Fairview told us a bold-faced lie about that Gilman Springs wasn't going to be used. Now
it's in the mix.
Now the question is how. It was the writing was on the wall. You didn't have to be psychic to know that the trucks were just going to go wherever they felt like. But now the question is Highland Fairview going to try and use the other routes they promised would not be used for trucks, like the eastern end of Alessandro, where there's or other streets where there's private houses with driveways facing the street? Is Highland Fairview going to try and use those for truck routes now?
Right. Like I said, we warned a lot of people. We told people what this project was going to do. As everybody knows, I'm not against warehouses. I'm against where this particular warehouse is because the infrastructure is not there to support it. And we got what we got. And if we listen to history, if you don't pay attention to past history, you're doomed to repeat it. And that's where we're at today. But there's a lot of things I want to talk about today. But I think one of the most important things outside of the WOC is very, very important, and the election cycle. I think it's very important that we get the right candidates into office and do what we need to do with these right candidates. But one of the things that I think we need to really address is something for the citizens. And nobody's talking about this. There's a lot of substance abuse out there. There's a lot of mental health issues. You see it on YouTube, all these people doing that. And if you walk around Moreno Valley, you see there's a lot of problems with substance abuse with some of our citizens. So you came up with some great ideas in regards to to getting help and how do we do that. So start us off with a nice little thing of what we should do and what are we lacking.
Okay, well, first off, everyone has been screaming about AB 109 and Prop 47 for years. Now a lot of people are in like a lynch mob mentality over the mailbox and package thefts.
Right.
A lot of that is driven by drug use.
Okay.
And there's also some mental health issues. It's not fair to blame everyone with a mental illness for the drug use, but because frankly, a lot of people that do drugs wouldn't qualify for mental health diagnosis. But so we have very little to no access to substance abuse services, and mental health services in this town are basically a joke.
Okay.
We have. I was talking to someone recently who's well knowledgeable in such things, and they say that in Riverside County there's one bed at a psychiatric hospital for every 9 people that need one. And the results are that the county hospital is a place where no one wants to go. Anyone that's been there says avoid that place at all costs.
Wow.
Because I guess they don't have the staff to control people that are violent. They don't have room for all the beds, so some people are on cots on the floor at times.
Wow.
We have the services for minors are basically a joke. They just try and stick them all in one room and try and get them some medications and kick them out as fast as possible because they don't actually have a real facility for kids and teenagers.
Basically the police designation for mental health is what?
They call it 5150. That term gets thrown around a lot, but basically it's a welfare institutions code. It's the legal code for where a policeman or a doctor can hold someone for 72 hours for a psychiatric evaluation. And then if someone needs to be held longer, then there's other
codes that can be used.
Yeah, to appeal to a court to hold someone longer. Mm-hmm. But most of the time they try and get someone out under 72 hours or get them to voluntarily check in when the time expires. Okay. But realistically, they're trying to get people in and out in less than a day in many cases, whenever possible, because you just don't have the beds. And people aren't getting help. And in some cases now, there are people that are held for on a 72-hour hold, and they spend the whole time in the emergency room. So they're tying up an emergency room emergency room bed for 3 days, and legally they have to be discharged before there's any chance to help them.
Right. Now let me ask you this. Before we go to commercial. We're in the political season, and everything's about money. There's no money for this, WLC. We can't do nothing for our citizens. There's money for consultants from the WLC, promoting the WLC. There's all this kind of money, but we have no money for the citizens. Mm-hmm. What would it cost to get help to an inmate a patient per person? What would it cost the county if we can provide help?
Well, the thing is that if we had the facilities, a lot of people would already qualify for Medi-Cal or Medicare or the indigent care program. And so a lot of those costs would already be covered. Okay. And then for those that require sliding scales, some of those sliding scales can be as low as $80 a year.
Wow. Per person?
Yes. I'll have to check on some details about exactly how and when that applies, but there are services that can be made available. And if we had actually a county mental health facility, a lot of that money could come from other sources besides the city. Okay.
Are there any candidates that you know of in the election so far that are addressing mental health issues with our residents?
George Price, I've talked to him personally about that, and I was quite impressed with what he has to say. He's quite familiar with the Salvation Army program in Paris, and he's kept an eye on the developments of the new county hospital that's going to be built, and they're going to have psychiatric services, and he's working to get some people down from Loma Linda to help. I don't know the exact details of how he's going to do that, but it is one of his big plans, and quite frankly, I totally support him on this, and I hope he becomes mayor to see this through.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm in Edgemont. We have a lot of substance abuse people. A lot of my neighbors, that are, unfortunately, they come from meager backgrounds, and when you're in a situation like that, poverty, there's all kinds of reasons why substance abuse is a big problem in our society as a whole. So I think that's something that needs addressed, and I'm looking for a candidate that's going to address that issue, because when are we going to start doing something for our citizens? Yeah. But we're going to cut to commercial real quick, pay some bills. This is Donovan and Sean, The Hot Seat. We're live from Starbucks on Fredericks, and we're going to talk about this issue because it's a very important issue, and nobody seems to address it unless the problem becomes so big that you have to say something.